Someone wrote in and said, I would love to hear Reid's thoughts about transitioning from a poly lifestyle to entering a monogamous relationship. This is Reid Mahauka from readaboutsex.com.
This is Cathy Vartuli from theintimacydojo.com. And here are my thoughts. Can you hear them? Cathy, can you hear them?
No.
I don't know what my thoughts should be.
Well,
From going from poly into monogamy?
So it sounds like they've been living a poly lifestyle, and they've met someone and they want to be in a monogamous relationship now.
Okay, so it'd be like being on a touring rock and roll band, and then you wake up one day and you want to be in a small duet band that plays just in one city.
Well, one, we don't know how big their poly group would have been before. Mm-hmm. So it could have. You're assuming it's a rock and roll band or a big group, but it could be just a couple people.
I've got a tour bus.
It could have just been a couple of people.
Cheering crowds.
You could be poly and be single.
You can, but this is not what they're saying.
No, but they're entering a monogamous relationship.
So they're leaving Polyville.
Yeah.
Road sign, entering Monogamyville.
Yeah.
All right.
So my thoughts are, at least starting, is let your friends know that your rules have changed. Mm-hmm. So you may have had some lovers or people you played around with. The community may have been looking to hook you up. Mm-hmm. I would let them know, hey, listen, my boundaries have changed. I am now in a monogamous relationship.
Is there a Facebook setting that says less complicated?
Possibly.
No longer complicated? That was a poly joke.
That was funny.
Thank you.
But, letting people know. Mm-hmm. And then I think just paying attention to what you're noticing about yourself. That transition could be challenging. I think different people are wired different ways. Some people are fine doing monogamous or poly, whichever they happen to be in. Some people are very monogamous. Some people are very poly. Like, where are you on the spectrum? If you tend to be wired towards poly, there may be more challenges as you try to adapt to a monogamous relationship. Mm-hmm. So I think having a therapist or coach to talk to, or some friends where you can talk about the process, what you're noticing coming up for you, and talking to your partner too about where you want to put those lines, because that is very independent. That's very dependent on the individual relationship. So I have friends that I have deep love for, that in some monogamous relationships, our relationship would not be okay. Mm-hmm. So like my friend Rick and I, we'll cuddle, we love each other, we go out, people are like, how long have you been married? We're not sexual, we're not dating or romantic. We're very romantic, but we're not sexual or in a relationship in that sense. In many relationships, what we have together would be threatening to another person. So you get to talk to your partner and figure out what do you define as monogamous? Is it okay to have deep friendships? Is it okay to... And that's something you have to agree with your partner and find out what's a good fit for you.
It's a little bit of a variation for those of you who aren't poly. It's kind of being mindful when you're still close with your exes, and you're entering into a new relationship. Have you done your due diligence, one, with your new relationship, to be like, hey, so just so you know, these are my exes, and I'm friends with them still. And then there's a whole conversation about, when you fall in love with somebody who's not okay with you being friends with your exes, who's the responsibility on? Like, was it yours? Like, why are you falling in love with somebody who's not okay with you having friends who happen to be your exes? And, that's something that a lot of people seem to struggle with, which is like, oh, my current lover or partner now doesn't want me hanging out with these friends. And, I believe there's a few pop songs about that not being okay. Yeah. But at the same time, how do you want to handle that? How do you want to continue to talk about that? Yeah. And then what are the bottom lines for who gets to have veto power around your friendships? The other piece around poly is if you're leaving Polyville, you may want to have a conversation with your poly community about why you're going in, you're going to focus on this relationship, whether you call that monogamy or not, call it whatever.
Are you actually leaving the community as well?
Yeah, who do you need to have a conversation with that's maybe a lover or a secondary or something like that, or friends. Also tell them that you're an adult and you're doing what you need for yourself, and if they can be judgy about, monogamy, why are you leaving the enlightened Polyville world, please tell them that Reid Mihalko, who is quite poly, says suck it. People get to switch and figure out what's a thing for them, and some people are really malleable. You know, if you date somebody who's poly, you're good with poly. You date somebody who's monogamous, you're good with being monogamous. Like, maybe that kind of person is actually happy with the relationships that they're having. So don't piss on their parade just because you have opinions. Let people choose. Mm-hmm. Now, if somebody's going into a physically abusive relationship or emotionally abusive relationship, regardless of what that is, I think as friends you can step in and have some conversations with folks. Mm-hmm. But we're not talking about abuse in those ways.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of it's about communication, letting the people in your life know what's going on, being really clear with your monogamous partner about where the boundaries are, mm-hmm. what you're mutually agreeing to, and then pay attention to what's coming up for you as you go forward.
Cool. Leave some comments. Yeah. What does the interwebs think? Oh, wise oracle. Leave a comment.
Thanks for tuning in, Sex Geek. If you would like to continue with the brain sex, do me a favor and click subscribe right here. If you'd like to watch me on social media, that's where you're going to go. Next video, maybe? And if you really would like your own Sex Geek t-shirt, please click right here, right now. Boop. No, really, like...